What is one thing your parents taught you, but you will never teach your children? Not really something my parents taught me, but something I watched them do when growing up, which is just comment on people's appearances all the time. Who cares if you don't like the clothes they are wearing? Or what if you think they've lost or gained weight and you don't like their new haircut, okay, etc. My family does this so much, and I quickly grew out of it in my early teens. But yeah, it's such a pointless superficial conversation. It has no good purpose whatsoever. Talking to your parent even politely during an argument is talking back. My mother and I have argued our entire lives about a lot of things. It decreased over time as I got older. I learned to just shut up. However, the incident that stuck out is sometime my sophomore year, when I was going out with friends and I wasn't allowed to for no reason. Sometimes she'd yell at me to clean a mess she made, or my sibling, so when her friend comes over it won't be nasty. Yeah, both times I told her I'm going, and she told she was calling the police. She never did, by the way. Also, I told her once I was suicidal as a kid, entering puberty, and hormonal imbalances was the reason, and she looked at me and went, "Why are you telling me this? Stop looking for attention. Go do it instead of crying to me." Yeah, my mom pretty much told me to go kill myself. Bet I will go and see as soon as I can. That certain things are for certain genders. Example, the color pink. My son loves the color pink. Once an acquaintance told him, "Why are you wearing a pink shirt? Pink is a girl's color." To which he replied, "No, pink is just a color like any other. I'm raising 3 boys to be better men than I am. One of those lessons has to be that I will not be subjugated by you or your burlesque ideas of what a tough man should be. You can still be compassionate and empathetic while understanding that sometimes violence is the only thing that will keep you alive. I will do my damn best to not practice the whole you're older, so you should know better belief. As a kid, whenever my sister would pick a fight with me, pull my hair, call me names, throw things at me, I'd retaliate appropriately. Unfortunately, I always got grounded for fighting back, while my sister got off easy because I should have known better. This practice isn't fair. Younger siblings should also be taught right from wrong at a young age. Giving special treatment to one sibling only creates lifelong resentment. So, I will try to be fair in situations like that. Someone is in a worse situation than you / things could be worse, therefore your complaint has no value. The phrase that things could always be worse should be used as a way to try to stay optimistic. But somehow it wound up being a way of invalidating any complaints I had as a kid. I got into the habit of not voicing complaints at all because it could always be worse. Then when life started hitting hard as I got older and I started having to deal with depression, I never wanted to go seek help because it could always be worse. I kept telling myself that my life wasn't so bad. I didn't have a good reason to be depressed. I don't want to take away resources that other people needed more than I did, and that I was strong enough to get through this on my own. But over the years it just got worse and worse. There were times that I would feel happy and think that I had finally done it. I was healed. I was free. But those times didn't last long and the depression always came back. Now, about 8 years later, I'm finally realizing that just because there are people who have it worse than me, that doesn't make my struggles any less valid. So now I'm finally working on getting a therapist to help me take steps to get better instead of just trudging through life hoping things don't get worse. Because things could also be better, and if you're willing and able, you should strive to make things better. Medicine fixes everything. Struggled with depression / anxiety since I was about 12, so I was put on a cocktail of damn near all antidepressants. Now, a little less than 20 years later, I still have lasting side effects. Not saying refuse medication, but maybe having a sympathetic ear and taking time to understand how things in life are going. Of course, medication when necessary, and yes, vaccines are in case this was questioned. That you need to hustle 100% of the time and be constantly busy with school / worker, extra activities, side projects, cleaning, etc. Spending time unwinding is a sign of laziness, and already and intelligent people are never bored. This really messed me up, and I'm still learning the art of wasting time. That parents never have to apologize to their kids. I love my dad. He is a great dad, and I know he loves me so much, but he has it in his head that even now, even when his youngest, me, is an adult, that he doesn't need to apologize if he does something wrong. It's baffling. Eat everything on their plate. I try to get my kids to make an effort to eat their meals, but I'm never going to punish them for not being hungry when I say so. Sometimes you start it and can't finish. Sometimes you just don't like it. Now if they keep saying they're hungry, sometimes you gotta learn to take what you can get though. My husband came home with a big box of reduced donuts today. I cut a small piece off each and put them on a plate for my son. He gave me the plate back with about half still on, so I asked if he didn't like them. He said they were the best donuts ever, but he was full now. I know it's not much, but it made me so happy. I struggle to leave food on a plate, no matter how much I've eaten, and he's there just leaving his favorite food because he's not hungry anymore. How to change an electrical outlet. 120 volts. Live. Good stuff. In my apartment we noticed a strange smell and discovered an electrical fire just starting up from our water heater. We flipped the electricity off and called the landlord. When he noticed that we turned off the electricity, he got really excited. Apparently not many people know what the panel of labeled switches by their front door is for, or they think that is for building maintenance only and they aren't allowed to use it. It has led to a lot of damage in the past, I guess. That's 6. Sexuality, drinking/drugs/partying, politics, money, spirituality are awkward things to discuss. I want my future kids to know facts and that if they are ever in trouble, I'm a safe place for them. We don't have to talk about it if they don't want to. They'll be taught how to be safe, but they should also know that these subjects are a part of life and should not cause shame. My little girl is always saying, "Mommy, can I tell you something?" And I reply, "You can always tell me anything," trying to get some good habits in for when she's a teenager. I was the wild child. My husband pretty much lived under a rock till he was 18. I know I'm not a perfect parent and sometimes I have big guilt in how I dealt with the situation in the wrong way, but I try my best and that's what I try to instill into both of them. If you try your best, that's all anyone can ask of you. In the end, the only person you hurt is yourself when you half-ass it. To wait until marriage. You know they won't anyway. The best you can do is teach them to be safe and pray they do okay. Same with a lot of things, actually. I know my daughter is going to have sex no matter what. I know she's going to try alcohol at some point. I know she's going to probably try pot. Her safety is my priority, so the sex talk is going to include how to stay safe, where the extra condoms are stashed, that it's perfectly okay to ask me any questions about sex, like, X happened, is this normal, all about consent, etc. And about the effects of alcohol, based on science, and how to stay safe when drinking socially with friends. Definitely would prefer if she didn't drink before 21, but if she's going to, might as well try to help her help herself not get absolutely shit-faced and possibly assaulted. But here's hoping I can move us to Europe in the next 5 to 10 years. Being hypercritical. My parents were very critical of me about so many things. My grades, my performance in extracurricular activities, even how I did chores. What was worse was that they would often compare me to others as well, and would only ever praise me when they were basically bragging to other people. An example that always stuck with me was when I had a part-time job as a waiter in high school, and my dad would often scold me for wasting my time at a useless job instead of focusing on school, and how I was just gonna end up being a bum just like my older brother. But then when he's talking to his friends, he brags about how his youngest son is so hardworking. He even has a part-time job in high school. It's this sort of hypercriticism is why I struggle a lot with self-esteem and confidence. What's worse is that I find myself even being hypercritical of other people's behavior, like if they make a mistake or don't do something how I would have done. I don't snap like my dad would do, but I still find myself immediately getting annoyed. It's something I'm working on and hope to never do to my future kids. That a parent's feelings are more valid than the child's. My mom did this once when I expressed to my dad that she constantly hurt my feelings. She came into my room after that, since my dad had just tucked me into bed, when I told him, and she said, and I quote, "I hurt your feelings." You hurt mine when you make me spank you or yell at you. Almost every time she spanked me with what we call the board, which is basically a shaped piece of wood with a handle, it would be about me talking during church or playing with my friends in restaurants too loudly. She never said to quiet down. She'd say shut up / stop and threaten me with licks after spanking me with the board. So I never felt like I could have fun as a child. Basically, that's the trauma I'm still trying to get over. Though my confidence is getting better and I'm finally branching out and doing things by myself. I say finally because I'm around 20 years old and have yet to ever have a job or adult properly. I do still have trust issues and issues with feeling like how I feel is valid and okay, but I'm working on it. Selective application of morality. Growing up, the rule was it's not illegal if you don't get caught, and the effect was to cut every corner and take any advantage available regardless of the morality. If you can get away with it and justify it with moral ambiguity, you're fine. The reality is that our projection of self into the world isn't who we feel that we are, but the sum of our actions. As soon as you compromise your morals, you've not just taken some menial small win like cutting a line, but you've compromised the body of work that will be known as you to everyone but yourself. Learn who you are. Live up to the person you want to be. When I was young, my dad taught me a few self-defense techniques. He said he had developed it himself. He would give me a 15-second head start to run, and then he would try to catch me and beat me up with a pair of jumper cables. Looking back, it was probably violent and unnecessary, though it proved useful in high school. I'll never do that with my daughter. That small children should and will work like adults, never mind the fact that they're physically incapable of it. And I mean stuff like full home renovations and heavy landscaping. A little kid can't carry a ceiling beam on their own, and surprise, they also can't handle a giant wheelbarrow full of heavy wet mulch on their own either. I mean, FFS now. My parents tried to tell my then 6-year-old son off about not doing anything when my husband and I were moving heavy furniture. My parents weren't doing jack shit other than watching, hypocritically enough, and they didn't like when I told them to shut up or get fo, because my son is going to be a kid, not a workhorse. So yeah, I guess my dealies, that I was taught that kids are born to work for you and you shouldn't let them actually be children, and I adamantly refused to teach my son the same BS.